All right, everybody. Hope you guys are having a phenomenal day today. I'm here with a friend of mine, Stephen Jagger, who is a co-founder of IMBY, based out of our neighborhood of Vancouver, and our neighbors in the neighborhood of Vancouver. And my man, not only are you a co-founder of IMBY, which is a really cool platform, and you got a great mission, things that we'll jump into in a second, but you're author, speaker, longtime entrepreneur, husband, father, and now a real estate investor. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what the mission behind IMBY is.
Sure. So thanks for having me. Myself and my business partner, Mike Stevenson, have been business partners for 19 years across a handful of different startups that we've created. The most recent one is IMBY. IMBY is designed around crowdfunding real estate. Basically, radically accessible homeownership is what we're trying to do, and we're enabling people to invest any slice of money into specific real estate properties.
Yeah, which is super cool. So as soon as I log onto your website, which is imbyx.com, the very first thing I see is I can invest into Vancouver real estate or BC real estate for as little as $1. How in the world does that work?
Yeah, well, what we do is we set up, each piece of property sits in a new corporation. So we set up a corporation, we buy that, whatever the property is in that corporation, we buy it for cash, we own 100% of it, and then we sell 49% of it back off to the crowd. So we maintain ownership alongside the crowd investor, and we have 51% and the crowd has 49%. The reason we do it for $1, obviously, if you're investing $1, it's not, you're not going to make a lot of money investing a single dollar. The point of it is not necessarily the dollar. The point of it is absolute accessibility. Our goal is to enable anyone and everyone to be able to invest in real estate. And so if we had a minimum of $500 or $200 or whatever, just by doing that, it does eliminate some people. So we wanted to have it where it was absolutely accessible to anyone who had the desire to invest in real estate.
Yeah, and I think that's really where we first hit it off, was both, coinciding missions. You want to have real estate investment accessible to everybody, and we want to financially educate 1 million people and get them inspired to invest in a real estate to live a more fulfilled life. So I love how aligned we are and on the big picture of things. Rewinding back to the beginning, how did IMBY just come to be in the first place?
The original idea came, so back it up a little bit, I guess Mike Stevenson and I had been dabbling in our own real estate investing on our own. And a project came up through a developer that was looking for limited partners. And that developer had approached Mike asking if he was interested in being a limited partner behind the development. And Mike had said, sure, I'm interested in that. He liked the property, the location, the plan of what they were going to build. And the developer had said the minimum investment amount was $750,000. And so instead of, and so I just casually cut the check. And so instead of doing that, what Mike suggested to the developer is, can he put together a bit of a syndicate to be a part of that? And so the developer said, sure, but I want one investor. So what Mike did was set up a new corporation and basically texted a handful of people, myself included, saying, hey, here's the deal, here's the properties, here's what the developer's planning on doing. Are you interested in investing? And I said yes, and a few other guys said yes. And so we all put the money into that new corporation. The new corporation then invested as an LP behind that developer. But one of the problems that came up was one of our employees wanted to put $10,000 into the deal. And Mike had said to anybody that was interested, the minimum that he put onto people was $50,000. And so the developer wanted their minimum check of $750,000. Mike wanted his minimum check of $50,000. And this employee wanted to put in, I believe, $10,000. And that employee got a little sort of upset about it and wanted to understand why there was the minimum. What's the purpose? Why can't he have access to a deal like this? Because he doesn't have enough money. And so that conversation started kind of us all chatting about it and digging deeper into, what are the costs of doing this? There's obviously lawyers involved and setting up a corporation, and there's costs involved in taking investor money. And having a minimum like that sort of made it, I don't know, more cost effective to do. Anyway, so that conversation is kind of what started us down this path of maybe there's a different way to enable anybody to be able to invest in real estate. The vast majority of Canadians don't have access to the market. This asset class is, locks out most people from, all the different types of taxes that are involved, or the stress test on mortgages, or just simply Vancouver, Toronto. Like, these cities are very expensive. So forgetting all those other things, it's very difficult to get into because the price tag is quite high. And that eliminates a whole lot of people. And so that's kind of where the idea came from, is there's got to be a better way using legal and technical innovations to be able to enable anybody to be able to invest.
Yeah, which is super cool. I love that you guys had that initial conversation and challenged the status quo, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's really, it sounds like that was the fundamental piece, was, the question of, why can't I do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether I have 10 grand, $1 or $1 million, I want to have stake in a high appreciated asset with solid, consistent returns. And I guess, speaking of returns, if I'm, a consumer for the IMBY product, and I put in, X amount, are there guarantees? How do you do the projections? What kind of investment properties am I buying into? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Each property that comes on the platform is obviously unique and will come with its own investment thesis as to what the plan is with the property. Is it a buy and hold? Is it, a development opportunity? Is it a piece of bare land? Like, everything's obviously different. And so when investors come onto the platform, they can set up their free account at the website, and then they can look at the different properties that are available and choose to invest depending on if they like that property and what the thesis is. So the types of properties that we're currently focused on is mixed use, multifamily apartment buildings with a little bit of commercial units on the bottom, that have, multiple tenants paying rent, and a buy and hold strategy. Basically, buy a good solid building that doesn't require too much work, purchase the property and hold it, and enable, the renters to do what they do, paying the rent, providing a good solid building and homes for people.
So if I buy in, we're recording this in July. If I buy in now, and it's a buy and hold project, delivering X% return, am I going to get that? Because with buy and holds, the ideal piece is you getting cash flow, and then over the long period of time, you're building your equity, which you can then leverage for more opportunities, etc. So, am I tied to this opportunity for a fixed term,
Yes.
or as long as you guys hold it, or it's a fixed term?
Yeah, it's a fixed term. The next properties coming on will be a 5+2, 5 years plus 2 year hold, which means we're going to hold it for at least 5 years. So that's the plan. Everybody goes in knowing what the plan is. And we sort of add a +2 in case the market is not where we wanted in 5 years. We've got the option to sort of hang on for another year or two, and wait for an adjusted market or whatever. But that's generally the idea, that people know that this isn't a 6-month plan or a 2-month plan. They'll know going in and picking that specific property what the investment thesis is and how long they should expect to have their money in that property.
Gotcha. Cool. You know that we love real estate. Our model. We've talked a lot over the last year or two. What is it about real estate that really motivates you, and why are you so dedicated to building such a new innovative platform all around real estate investment compared to stock or anything else? What is it about real estate that you're just super jacked about?
I like real estate itself. It's a very tangible product. It's a you can see it, touch it, drive by it, look at it. It goes up in value over time. Mm-hmm. So that piece is, of course, interesting. The bigger piece, I think, for myself and the team, and why we're interested in it is like I said before, the vast majority of people just don't have access, and they're locked out of this whole asset class. And so our goal is to enable those people to be able to participate in a prudent way, investing in real estate, choosing to invest in bite sizes that are a fit for who they are and what they do and how old they are and how much money they make, and sort of all of these factors, they can, choose to make a decision to invest X dollar amount in a specific piece of real estate. And right now that's not currently really a thing. You can't really do that outside of just going and purchasing your own condo or your own house. And like I said, that in itself comes with a whole bunch of challenges for the vast majority of people.
Yeah, I think I've heard this twice in this call already, but something that you said was you're basically removing, the barriers of class.
Yeah.
Right? So the society's classes that we have, and that's been a huge barricade for most people, especially with the appreciation that, our Western markets have seen the last couple of years. And I love that aspect of it, just allowing literally anybody who's got $1 in their pocket to capitalize on all these great benefits that you just talked about with real estate.
Yeah. And I think even if you have the money, it's difficult to be a landlord. There's a lot of work that goes into it, as you guys know. Yeah. There's a lot of work going into choosing your renters and collecting rent and dealing with any issues and dealing with building problems and dealing with whatever that goes on. Yeah. You're quite involved. And so it's another easy way for people to be the landlord without having to, be the landlord. They've got us as kind of expert co-owners managing the property for them, because we're both invested in it. So it's quite a way to have hands-off ownership for the crowd.
Yeah, which is great. And all you landlords out there, how much of a pain in the butt it can possibly be getting those 2 a.m. phone calls being like, oh yeah, there's water coming through my roof right now, or my toilet's overflowing, or Randy and I were joking at one of the more recent events that we just put on. We showed the class a picture of me scooping out water from a dirty laundry machine because it broke down and wasn't draining. So those are the joys that you get to avoid by investing with products such as IMBY. And you kind of sparked my interest here a little bit. On the passive side of things, there's a number of different ways that you can get involved in real estate passively, whether it be with REITs or joint venture partnerships or whatever. Typically, the barrier to entry is a lot higher than just $1. So the difference between the platform that IMBY offers and a traditional REIT, what is that separation?
Well, the big difference, I guess, between us and a REIT, if you were to look at it very simply, is there's absolute accessibility. Like I said, it starts at $1, so people can choose whatever prudent amount makes sense for them. It's $50 or $100 or $10 or whatever. That would be one. And the other is you're picking a specific address. So you're choosing to invest in one specific piece of real estate, where a REIT, you're buying into Canadian shopping malls or, whatever. And it's a cluster of a whole bunch of different properties that make up their REIT. And so, I guess that's probably one of the biggest differences is, you're able to choose a specific property of I'd like to invest in this one and not this one, or split my money into this one and this one. And you're actually choosing by the address of the property that you're interested in.
Which is really cool, because we came over, I think it was last summer, and we checked out your Trout Lake property. Mm-hmm. And so if you're from Vancouver and you come across, if you're comparing, do I want to invest in a REIT, which is, national, or do I want to invest in, so in a little bit more hyper local, I can literally be like, yeah, sweet. I want to invest in the Vancouver product because I know I'm familiar with it. I'm comfortable with it. And I can literally walk past it on my way to work or something like that, which adds a whole other new cool dynamic that I didn't really, light bulb just went off a little bit. But,
we have a handful of our IMBY members have sent us emails or mentioned that to us at our events, that they choose to drive off the main road in a couple blocks to drive by the property.
Yeah.
And they show their kids and say, I'm invested in this.
Yeah. Yeah. That's super cool. Not that you have to, we have partners that don't even look at our properties. They don't care about it, but as long as they get some sort of report and a picture every once in a while and money's in the bank, then you can be one of the two or anywhere in between.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the neat things that we do is when an IMBY member logs into their account, if they invested in that Trout Lake property, you can log into your account and click into your investments and you choose the property, and it's got all the updates of what's been going on with the property. So you'll see rent paid, property tax paid, and it shows you the details of what's been happening in your investment. So you can kind of keep track of it like a landlord would, except all the things that go around of making all those things happen, they don't have to do. We handle that for them.
Yeah, wow, that's super cool, because you don't get any kind of info or information like that in a REIT or pretty much any other investment. You get your quarterly report, which says thumbs up or thumbs down, and having way more detail and having that accessible basically on demand.
Yeah, and the files are all attached in it. So if you see the property tax was paid a few weeks ago, you can click the attachment and there's the City of Vancouver property tax, like the whole notice, all the details are there. So you can see the exact numbers that were paid and why we paid it and what the amounts were going towards. So it's a very transparent way to be involved in a real estate investment. Yeah,
no, I absolutely love it. Can you talk a little bit about, where you see IMBY going in the future? Is it are you going national? Are you sticking, provincial? What's the big plan, the big dream, the moonshot, if you will, for IMBY?
Yeah, we'll go where the IMBY membership kind of wants us to go. We have plans around how Canadian real estate will work for us and dealing with different provinces. For now, the next few properties will be British Columbia based. We're looking at a few at the island where you guys are at. We're looking at a few in Kelowna, of course, the Lower Mainland. But we will move into other provinces. And then we'll see how, where that goes. Obviously, the American market is large, and we think there's a lot of Canadians that would be interested in investing in American real estate. And so there's definitely lots of potential, but we will, we've got plans for Canada, and we're working on what the American version of that would look like.
Yeah, cool. You mentioned, the island here, Victoria, Greater Vancouver, Kelowna. What about these markets is attracting you?
They're, the secondary cities, as they call them, that, some people like the idea of investing in Vancouver or investing in Toronto, and other people like the idea of not investing in Vancouver and Toronto. They think maybe they're a little hot right now. And so they like the idea of these smaller secondary cities that are around the major city. And so we get lots of questions and interest around Kelowna and the island specifically. Lately we've been getting questions around what's happening in Squamish. Is Squamish of interest to us? So we've got a whole process for how we analyze properties, how we make decisions on those properties. They go through investment committee, and we put together the whole thesis for the property so that we can then be comfortable. Because if we make a poor decision, we're invested alongside the crowd, but the way it works is we buy 100% of the property first. So if we make a mistake and realize, wow, nobody's interested in investing alongside us on this one, we already own the whole thing.
You're on the hook.
Yeah. So we're already taking all the risk on the property. So all of our due diligence that goes into it, we share all of that with the crowd, so that they can make a smart decision of if they choose to invest or not. But I think they like the fact that we are in it with them, and we've taken 100% of it, and then work it backwards from there. So it's, that's kind of how our process works. And then, like how we choose is a lot to do with cities that our investment committee is interested in, as well as what our membership is asking us for.
Right. And I love secondary markets too. I think of it like, if Vancouver, I'm going to call it a major market, a primary market, being investing here in BC. Toronto is definitely the major. That'd be like your A class, your monster kind of thing. And let's just think of Vancouver as that for right now, and the Victorias, the Kelownas, et cetera, as secondary markets. And the cool thing with secondary markets typically is you have an indicator from your primary market of what's going to happen in the market as a whole, in the economic side of things. So we in Victoria, we can sit back and watch Vancouver a little bit to watch how their prices, change over time. And that usually gives us a small buffer. Same as if you're shopping in the States, things that happen there typically happen here shortly after. So it gives us a little bit of a window to prepare ourselves. So if, crap hits the fan, we can hopefully see a little bit of a ripple effect and a small delay there to take some action. And that's on the negative side. And the positive side too, is as we see, Vancouver's growth, we know that 6 months or a year down the road, Victoria, Kelowna, et cetera, is going to have very similar growth. So it's a super safe kind of model. What you're doing, you're eliminating a lot of that risk of the volatility of the major markets and just banking on the softer swells of the secondary markets.
Yeah, and we're taking a long-term view. We're not trying to flip properties.
Right.
we're interested in the long-term view of those properties. So 5-7 years or longer.
Absolutely, our model as well, right? We're buy and hold. We invest for cash flow and long-term growth. Why do you like the buy and hold model over the flip model? Flipping gives you money now. Like, why not go make $100,000 or $1 million like tomorrow over a luxury flip or something like that?
Yeah, the costs in how our business works at this time makes sense for us to do it that way, right? Allowing or enabling investors to get in for small dollar amounts and then flipping a property in 6 months and then cashing everybody back out. There's a lot of work that goes into managing a large investor base in a specific property. So for at this time, that's what makes the most sense. We might in the future adjust how the products work on the platform, but no plan at this moment for that. Just like real estate development, we're not necessarily wanting to be in the real estate development business at this time. It's about buying good quality buildings, good quality properties that have renters and have cash flow and that we can hold and enable the crowd to participate in. So that's kind of our investment thesis right now.
Yeah, it's that mailbox money.
Yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about over the last 5 minutes about the ups and downs, the security of secondary markets, that kind of stuff. Projecting into the future, and I'll allow you to figure out what that time frame is, whether it's 6 months, a year, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. What are some concerns you have about the BC real estate market?
About BC, I'm not too concerned generally around British Columbia. I think the long-term outlook is great. Vancouver, the surrounding areas are just going to, I think, continue to grow. We're in a bit of a slump right now with the new taxes that have come in and some of the changes that have been happening and the mortgage stress tests and that type of activity has affected the market. But if we think about 5 or 10 years or 15 or 20 years out, I think Vancouver or the Lower Mainland or British Columbia is in a good spot. Obviously, you can choose certain cities in BC that may or may not be make sense or might be not in the best spot 5 or 10 years from now. But that's why we do what we do when we decision on a property. It's not us deciding, or Mike and I are deciding if we should invest. We set up investment committees that have regional knowledge of that area, as well as our global investment committee. So we have a group of people that basically give thumbs up or thumbs down on the property. And if they give thumbs up, they give us their opinion on the property, and we use that as part of the education process on should crowd investors invest or not.
Right.
So each property, each city, each area will have that information around it of like, we're buying this property in Kelowna and here's our thesis for it. And here's why we think Kelowna is a good investment for this many years or whatever, it's based on there's this happening and there's university this, whatever the details are, we'll put all that out there so that the crowd can read it and be like, agree or disagree. And if they agree and decide this is something I want to invest in, they can choose to invest.
Yeah.
But that's the idea, is they've got all the details that we have, and they can make a knowledgeable decision for themselves.
Yeah, super cool. Given the everyday person the ability to not only get in, but have the information already laid out, so I don't have to go spend the next 6 years digging into it. You guys have already done that work for me. Mm-hmm. And then just being able to review that report, over a cup of tea at night or whatever, and make myself a decision. That gives me a lot of power and a lot of mental security, or it allows me to sleep better at night because I know I've gone through the details myself and it's already been vetted by a professional investment committee. So that's it's usually going to be a safe bet. Yeah, I totally agree. I think long-term BC has nothing but upside to it. There's going to be ups and downs like in any real estate market, but our game plan is buy and hold long-term, right? So if you're going into a deal thinking it's going to be a long-term deal, you can wait out that downturn, especially when your property is cash flowing. If it's cash flowing, why sell it in a downturn, right? When it's worth 30% less. Ride it out because you're making money on it anyways. And if you want to sell it in 2 or 3 years after that, closer to the peak side of things, it gives you that flexibility and ability to wait out those downturns. And, in terms of, the economic aspect of BC and Vancouver and Kelowna and Victoria area and the island here, like we have such high migration compared to a lot of the other rest of the country. So people from down south, people from across Canada, and even people from interior BC want to move to to Victoria's, Vancouver's, Kelowna's because of the lifestyle, because of the job opportunities, because of the weather, obviously.
Yeah.
And the challenge is just the affordability aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as an investor, you're removing that limitation, and you can, if you're living in, what's the middle of nowhere? If you're living in Edmonton, you can hop on the IMBY platform, buy some Vancouver real estate, and be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go drive by my Vancouver house, right? And
yeah, I'm not sure Edmonton is the middle of nowhere, but
I don't know. I was talking to a friend earlier today from Edmonton, so first thing that came to mind. But yeah, cool, man. I appreciate the time, and you guys have a really cool product. I'm really, really excited to see the growth of IMBY, over 2019, 2020, and beyond. And I'd love to see it just succeed to the fullest potential. And any way that we can continue to support you guys through awareness or anything else along those lines, I'm happy to be. Randy and I are both happy to be a part of that because of the mission that you guys are on of removing those limitations of investing in real estate. And that's what really drives us, is just teaching people all the benefits of real estate and then how to pull the trigger on investment property securely and confidently, knowing that it's going to be a good product. And we do very similar diligence steps through our properties as I'm sure you guys do. And so yeah, I just want to say thank you. Keep it up. You guys are doing a really cool thing for society and for our environment here in BC. Is there anything like kind of final thoughts that you want to share with anybody who's watching or listening to this right now?
No, I think that if people are interested in checking out what we're doing, they can go to the website. It's imbyx.com and sign up. When we launch new properties, the IMBY members get access first. So the way to be on that list is to have a free account. It doesn't cost you anything. You just set up an account, and you'll be notified when the next property comes on. You can read about it and make a decision for yourself.
Cool. Yeah. So everybody hop on to imbyx.com, jump onto the wait list for the next property. To the you have another like mail out type piece for keeping people updated on what you got going on, and stay tuned with them. You guys are on social medias as well.
Yep. All across all the normal channels.
Yeah. And so find them on your Facebooks, Instagrams, Twitters, LinkedIn's, whatever you want to do. And yeah, thanks so much, Steve, for being on board here and for doing such a great thing for our country and our world going forward.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, dude. Cheers.